people talk about favourite horses, and I guess people would think that my favourite horse would be Galileo Gold, who, of course I adored. But the yard favourite is Gifted Master. He's been here. He's the same age as Galileo Gold, and he's still here. Galileo Gold's going to have his first runners next year as a stallion. So Gifted Master's been an absolute star for us. He's won £760,000 in prize money. He's won group races over 6 furlongs, over I think he's won a group race over 7 furlongs, certainly won a listed race, won over a group race over a mile. He won the last 2 editions of the Tattersalls Millions Series. He won a Stewards Cup off top weight. And we're now going to try to win a Royal Ascot race with him. He possibly has just lost a yard of pace now that he's 7. But as I say, he's a winner over 5, 6, 7 and 8 furlongs. He's a stakes winner over 6, 7 and 8 furlongs. And the reinstatement of the 7-furlong handicap, the Buckingham Palace, at the Royal meeting this year, I think is a perfect spot for him. This is IRONCLAD. IRONCLAD won a couple of races last year. He won during Royal Ascot at Royal Beverley. Not at Royal Ascot, sadly. Won his maiden then, and then he won a Newmarket handicap, and then we went to Kempton, and we couldn't work out why he didn't win, and the poor horse had a little injury the next morning, so he hasn't run since then. He's done really well over the winter. He's been gelded. He's beautifully bred. He's by Dubawi out of Heat Hayes, who won Group 1s in North America, most noticeably the Breeders' Cup. He's always shown plenty at home. He didn't come into the yard until he was 3. So yesterday was his first season in full training. Yeah, not yesterday, last year was his first season in full training. Obviously he's a 4-year-old now. Lovely big horse, really nice way of going about him. And I think he could be a handicapper to keep on the right side of as we go through the season. This is EMISSARY. EMISSARY is a beautifully bred colt. He's a half-brother to Workforce, who of course won the Derby and the Arc. And of course Kingman is carrying all before him as a young stallion. This horse just had 1 start at 2. And he won his maiden very well at Wolverhampton in the autumn, and he's grown and developed a lot over the winter. I suppose when you are beautifully bred, when a horse is beautifully bred and a half-brother to a Derby winner, the dreams are always going to be a little bit higher than they would be with other horses. So it's going to be very much, we'll keep dreaming until he does something to stop the dream. His work is good, very pleasing. He's entered today to run at Goodwood on Sunday in the Cocked Hat, which normally is the last Derby trial and the closest one to Epsom, and often not won by Derby-type horses. But this year it's 3 weeks from Epsom, or 20 days anyway. So it might make it a rather stronger race. But we're going to have a go. We're going to give it a look, see what our credentials are, and see if his dam Soviet Moon, I think it would make her the 13th mare to be the dam of 2 Derby winners. So it's not impossible. The last one that springs to mind, at least, was when See the Stars gave Urban Sea her second Derby winner after Galileo, of course. Very pleased with himself, he is. This is IMRAHOR. IMRAHOR hasn't had a race this season, but he has been to the races. And another victim of the coronavirus restrictions, he was in the stalls too long because there aren't enough stalls handlers. And people have noticed there have been an awful lot of non-runners, horses not going in the stalls, horses being withdrawn. And this monkey was one of them. He got stuck under the stalls. Luckily, he wasn't injured. And so he needs to do a stalls test. I read in the press that Pinatubo also needs to do a stalls test before Royal Ascot. So hopefully that means the BHA are going to allow us to do stalls tests. This horse could run in the Jersey, He's a homebred son of Kingman, of Mr. Arach's, who we think is pretty smart. But he was second on debut. He's been a little bit fragile, but he could go to Ascot, or we could run him in a maiden that week. This is Acquitted. Acquitted's a lovely colt. He won twice at 2 last year, and he ran at Newcastle on Saturday. It's been very interesting, actually. Normally we'd go overnight to Newcastle, but because of the coronavirus restrictions, they can't have stable staff staying, so it's had to be a day trip, which is really difficult. And you can see this horse, he got back in the middle of the night on Saturday night from Newcastle, and he's had a little canter this morning and he feels well. But if he hasn't been eating, he's spending the rest of the time lying down. It's a long way for a horse to go to Newcastle and back in the day. But he's a lovely horse. He finished second to John Gosden's horse Palace Pier, who remains unbeaten, and I think was after winning the race, beat us 2 or 3 lengths, became 11-1, I think third favourite for the Derby. So we hope this horse is progressive. He's done everything to suggest that he is. He could well end up at Ascot. The new race, the 10-furlong 3-year-old handicap, could be a possibility for him, depending on what the handicapper does. If the handicapper got carried away, he could go to the Hampton Court. We could also stay at a mile for the Britannia. The only thing is that he wouldn't want very, very fast ground, but the heat wave seems to have abated for now, and it's pretty cold for the beginning of June, and Ascot's only next week. So good ground might be a possibility. Not that I want to put words into the clerk of course's mouth, but I think that would suit him. He was a winner on heavy ground last year, and he doesn't need it bottomless, but he wouldn't want to feel his feet on the road. Red October is a lovely staying horse who picked up an injury in his only start at 3. He won his third start as a 2-year-old, having been second twice. Won over a mile at Chelmsford. He's a half-brother to a filly of Saïd bin Sarour's who won the Lily Langtree, which was a mile and 6. And he's a grandson of Galileo, or great-grandson. Dawn Approach, New Approach, Galileo. So great-grandson of Galileo. So I think he's got a chance of being a nice staying horse. I think he goes on any ground. And he's done very well over the winter, but having had an injury at 3, we've been very, very patient and taken him gradually. He's just started working now, and looking forward to keeping going with him, getting on the track. You'll see he's got some fairly illustrious names to live up to. He lived in this stable when Luca Cumani had this as his overflow yard. So he's a gelding, and he's a 4-year-old, so he's not going to do what Kayazi did and win the Derby. But I hope he'll win lots of races. Collide's an older horse. He's a 5-year-old now. He won a listed race in February. So he's our only stakes winner of the year so far. So hopefully it's the first of many. He is, again, beautifully bred. Typical of Prince Khalid's horses. Absolutely beautifully bred. He's a full brother to Logician, who won the St. Leger. We hope that he might be an Ebor horse. Or he could even, if we stay 2 miles, he could be a Northumberland Plate horse. As a Northerner myself and as a Newcastle United fan, I'd love to win the Northumberland Plate. And I think this could be the closest chance that we've had to date of winning that. He doesn't want very quick ground. If he wanted very quick ground, I'd say he had Melbourne Cup potential. But we could maybe think he could be a Sydney Cup horse, maybe, where it often rains in the Sydney autumn. This is Rocket Rod, who has had a run, and he ran very well on debut. Finished third in a hot-looking maiden at Newcastle. He's strip fitter for it. It's a lovely horse, really nice-sized horse, very balanced. Been very pleased with his work, and looking forward to hopefully shedding his maiden tag with him and then going on from there. For a horse who only finished 6th on debut, this is probably the most famous horse to have not won a race so far this year, because this is Lockdown. who had people talking. Felt he ran really well at Newcastle last week, and he's come out of the race well. He had a good blow afterwards. He's not an Ascot 2-year-old, but there's an awful lot more to the season than Ascot, however important Ascot is. I think he'll win plenty of races. I've liked him from the word go. He loves his work, enjoyed his racing, and ran well. He wasn't beaten very far. Horse to follow for viewers. Well, look, my daydream has been all about EMISSARY since the moment I received the list of horses that Prince Carlos has sent us. When you get sent a half-brother to a Derby winner, you dream that he might emulate what his brother has achieved, and I'm going to keep dreaming. Even if he's not a Derby horse, I think he's a lovely horse. EMISSARY would be my horse to follow, fingers crossed.